Was this an example of the Bills showing a weakness of relying on Josh Allen too much, or is that Jets defense for real?
Yeah, but I gotta say, I do think that this Jets defense is for real. Even though that they lost to the Patriots last week, which, let's be honest, that was a bad loss to the Patriots last week. Zach Wilson looked like a rookie quarterback last week when faced up against Bill Belichick. Turned the ball over 3 times and really put the Jets in a hole where the Jets couldn't dig themselves out of. And I gotta say, I just got to give a lot of credit to the Jets as a whole to be able to bounce back from that, what I would consider is an embarrassing loss to a subpar team in the Patriots last week, and being able to bounce back to essentially knock off Kev. Kev, would you say that the Bills were probably the best team going into week 9? Because I
Without
sure
a
did.
doubt. Not a question.
So the fact that they were able to pull that off, I got to give them kudos for that. And I will say, at first, it didn't look like that. The Bills got off to a pretty solid start. I mean, Josh Allen was able to bounce out of the pocket, was able to extend some plays with his feet, and was able to score a couple touchdowns early on. And then, to me, I really think where this game started to go in the favor of the Jets here was at the end of the first half when they were able to tighten the deficit to only 4 points. I believe at halftime, score was 14-10. And then the Jets defense, man, they locked up in the second half. To be able to hold the Bills to 3 points in the second half is nothing short of astonishing. And they made life for Josh Allen uncomfortable. I mean, there were multiple times where he tried to escape and the Jets weren't having it. The Jets were able to just put him into some dicey situations where they were able to get the Bills off the field, force the Bills to punt. And then the Jets, just putting one step in front of another, they were able to establish some drives in that second half to get them into scoring position. And they were able to take advantage of it. I thought that last drive that they had that set them up for the game-winning field goal, that was just excellent play calling. They were able to extend plays on third down, or they were able to extend drives on that third down. Not only that, they just didn't really put the ball in harm's way where the Bills defense could turn the ball over in that late stage of the second half. And I got to give that Jets defense credit. Once the Jets were able to get the lead after the field goal to put them up 20-17, they locked them up. They locked the Bills up. They put the Bills in a situation where they had to convert a 4th and 21 to be able to extend the drive. And I got to give credit to those Jets secondary personnel because, I mean, Josh threw a freaking bomb towards Gabriel Davis with about, I think, like 30 to 45 seconds left. And they were able to knock down the pass. And we all know what Josh Allen is capable of, especially when he's throwing bombs, because Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis have made it a point of emphasis, or they've made a living of it, to be able to burn secondaries deep on those passing plays. And the fact that the Jets were able to hold up pretty much 50, 60 yards downfield, got to give them credit for that. To me, this is really what I would consider this is a big achievement for Robert Saleh. This is probably the biggest win that he's had as a coach with the Jets at this point, to be able to knock off arguably the number 1 team in the league and in the manner that they did it, with essentially shutting down the Bills in the second half. I don't think anybody expected that going into week 9. I thought the Bills were going to run away with this game. This wasn't even a game that Kevin and I even mentioned about discussing going into our episode last week before the games had taken place this past weekend. So it was really one of the more surprising results from week 9. And you could probably say to the season in a larger extent, just because I thought the Bills were going to win this game by probably 10 plus points. But overall, this AFC East is very interesting now. When you look at the standings, all those 4 teams in the AFC East, the Bills, the Jets, the Dolphins, the Patriots, are all over 500. And the Jets are only 1 game behind the Bills in the loss column. And I don't think anybody expected that going into the season. I sure as hell didn't. But they've put themselves in a position halfway through the season where they have a legitimate chance to possibly capture first place from the Bills, which is just outright incredible at this point. So overall, a great performance from the Jets. When it comes to the Bills, they had a letdown game. The 2 games that they've lost this year have been divisional games where they had chances to win both of them, and they just made some mistakes that put them behind the 8 ball. But overall, I still believe the Bills are the team to beat in the AFC East. Not really just the AFC East, but really the AFC to a larger extent too. But they got to make some adjustments. I imagine looking at that tape is not going to be easy on Monday. So they'll have a chance to be able to bounce back in week 10. But overall, great performance from the Jets. They earned a dub, and this was a huge bounce back win after a pretty embarrassing loss to the Patriots the week before. So, Kev, I'll kick it to you from here.
I mean, I don't really have much to say. I mean, you hit all the critical points. One thing I will circle on is this Buffalo defense has been known all season long for their defense. This team has been known for their defensive presence and what they've been able to do in all facets of the ball between their pass rush, their linebackers, and their secondary being ball hawks and forcing turnovers, right? That defense was absolutely exposed today. The Jets ran for 174 yards. They got everything they wanted, averaging over 5 yards per carry, and they got away with it. They kept the ball away from Josh Allen. They make sure in the second half that they were able to legitimately just eat up as much clock as they could. And Zach Wilson was turnover free outside of that fumble that he had early on during that game. And you look at Josh Allen, sacked 5 times, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles. They were able to recover both, but still 2 fumbles. He was careless with the ball. The offensive line did not look good. And I'm tired of saying this, and I tell it to Kyle every single week. Outside of Josh Allen running the ball for 86 yards, the Buffalo Bills have running backs on their roster, and they combined for 39 yards. Devin Singletary and James Cook had 24 and 15 yards apiece. On what earth do your starting and backup running backs have a combined less than half total amount of yards than your starting quarterback? This is an example of what I had alluded to in my question. The Buffalo Bills put the pressure of the entire franchise on the shoulders of Josh Allen. And most starting quarterbacks in the NFL have that pressure naturally because they're the reason why offenses score and move the ball and whatnot. But he has to throw the ball 30 to 40 times a game. He's got to run the ball for over 60 yards a game. He's got to score with his legs and with his arm. He's got to be accurate. He can't turn the ball over. He's got to escape because of the lack of offensive line consistencies throughout the season. There have been some games where he's been sacked. There's some games where he's been hit. There's some games where he's taken a beating when he didn't need to because he was trying to force plays because the team is not doing well around him. So you have to look at the coaching staff and say, this has been an issue since Josh has been in the league. They can't run the football if it's not with Josh Allen. They need to legitimately pull him into the locker room, grab him by his freaking shoulder pads and be like, dude, stop running as much as you do. Slide, like whatever you have to do, like find him internally without telling the media because this is going to get him hurt. 86 yards rushing, 205 yards in the air. Again, 2 interceptions. Josh Allen's got to do better. The Buffalo Bills have got to do better for Josh. And the offensive coordinators just got it. They have to change their mindset. I know that Brian Daboll was there last year, and he's now the head coach of the Giants, but this has still been an inconsistency even when Daboll was there. You have to be able to rely on your running backs. You have to be able to create running lanes for your running backs. They only had 12 attempts between the running backs together. Josh Allen had 9 by himself. This needs to stop. The defense will bounce back. They had 1 bad performance, and it wasn't even that bad because they only gave up 20 points. But when you look at it from a statistical analytics side, 174 yards on the ground is bad. That is a piss-poor performance. Zach Wilson didn't have the greatest game in the world, but he doesn't have to because we all know that the Jets rely on the formula of running the football and playing good defense. When you sack the quarterback, you force turnovers, and you run the ball as effectively as you did, especially because you're able to keep it away from Josh, that's how you win. Kudos to Robert Saleh and how he's been able to change the culture in New York. Nobody saw the starts of the season that they've had thus far, especially being the record that they are. But the Jets look to be very serious. Sauce Gardner looks to be very serious. And I think potentially the Jets really have a good shot at chasing a wild card spot this year.